Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my review and discussion of Lady Midnight, which is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. The first 5 to 6 minutes of this video will be the spoiler-free review, after which I'll be jumping into spoilers, and I will tell you guys when I get into spoilers also. If you've not read any of the other Shadowhunters books, you need not worry at all because I'll not be giving away spoilers for any of the other books in the spoiler-free section. Also, in order to read Lady Midnight, you should have finished reading both the Mortal Instruments as well as the Infernal Devices series. It's advisable if you've read the Tales from the Shadowhunters Academy collection also, because this happens after the end of that one. So without any further ado, let's get into the various sections of the review right away. Starting with the plot, the Dark Artifices deals with our main character named Emma Castes, who lost her parents during the Dark War, which happens during the last book of the Mortal Instruments series, which is City of Heavenly Fire. Emma also has a really good role to play in City of Heavenly Fire. In this book, we don't get the story set in the New York Institute as it is in the Mortal Instruments series, but in the Los Angeles Institute along with the Blackthorn family. Since Emma is orphaned and there is no other Castes in order to take care of her, she's to be put into the Shadowhunter Academy, but since the Blackthorns are ready to take her in, she lives with them and trains with them and grows along with the other Blackthorns. Before the Blackthorn family, Emma's Castes family was the head of the institute in Los Angeles. That's also another reason why she is left to remain in Los Angeles itself. Emma, being the main character, having lost her parents, is continuously in search of the killer of her parents, and she wants to avenge her parents' death. That's the actual plot of the book. But just like in any other Shadowhunter series also, in this one we have a really forbidden romance of one kind which progresses on really well. I cannot talk anything more about the romance without giving spoilers away, so definitely that's that one. But I also think from all the Shadowhunters books that I've read so far, this is the one which was very heavy on the plot. Okay, usually I go into these books mainly for the characters known because I like the way in which Cassandra Clare writes her characters. They are very relatable and so realistic in many ways, despite the fantasy element of the story. But in this one, the plot itself seemed very strong. That's also one thing which I want to say, that if you are going to read the Dark Artifices series, please don't read the Last Stars before this one, because I read the Last Stars, in which 2 books are out right now, Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron. If you finish Chain of Iron, it spoils a great portion of Lady Midnight, so try to read that after finishing this series. Moving on to the characters, we have a lot of main characters, starting from Emma Castes and her parabatai Julian. Apart from Julian, we have 6 other Blackthorn siblings, namely Helen, Mark, Livia, Tiberius, Octavian and Drusilla. All the 7 Blackthorn siblings don't push the plot forward in this first book. There are 3 to 4 of the siblings who continuously push the plot forward in some way or the other. We get to see all of these characters from the point of view of Emma, or from our point of view, that is the third person's point of view, from where we get to know a lot more about their characters and their traits and how they behave for different things. Apart from these 7 siblings, we also have one other main character called Cristina Rosales, who's from Mexico. She's an 18-year-old Shadowhunter, so she's the eldest of the group right now, and she's in her travel year. That's the reason why she is from Mexico in Los Angeles City right now, and for this particular year alone, she is staying with them in the institute. Apart from the Shadowhunters, we also have one downworld main character called Malcolm Fade, who's the High Warlock of Los Angeles. We also have some appearances of the main characters from the Mortal Instruments as well as the Infernal Devices in this one, but in order to get not spoiled for both those series, you must have finished reading them and then only come to this one. Overall, the cast of characters in this one is really huge, very diverse, and also each and every character is very different from each other, and we can easily identify the voices of these characters. We also have one mundane character named Kit Rook, and he also has an important role to play in this one. Moving on to the world building, I should say Cassandra Clare has this really good style of developing this world as each and every series progresses on, because in the Mortal Instruments we have this really confined space within which everything is explored, but when it goes to the Infernal Devices, the Last Stars and all the other books, we get to see this world expanding a lot more. But I think this is the book in which a lot many things have the potential to be explored, because there is this thing called the cold piece which is established during the end of the Mortal Instruments, and that plays a really huge pivotal role in the further books in the timeline. So definitely this is a series which is going to be hugely affected because of the cold piece. If you've read the Mortal Instruments, you know what the cold piece is, and it has a lot of good as well as bad repercussions of it, and the cold piece is definitely one thing which is driving this plot a lot heavily. Also, it is very darker in tone compared to the first 2 series. Okay, I can definitely see why this is much more appealing to a lot more audience. It was much more appealing to me also compared to the other 2 series. I can definitely say Lady Midnight is the best first book in the series so far that I've read. Before this, I liked Clockwork Angel more, but definitely at this point I can easily say Lady Midnight is my most favorite first book in all the series put together. We get to know a lot more about the downworld and the politics that is going on in this downworld. Okay, it's specific to each and every pack of the downworld, right? The vampires have a different system which they follow. The werewolves have a different system which they follow. The warlocks have the spiral labyrinth, and the Fae are kind of in a different position right now in this series. So all those things have been explored at least a little bit in this first book, and I do think it will be explored further on in the further books in the series also. Moving on to the writing in this one, I can easily say this is the best book so far I've read in terms of writing when it comes to the entire Shadowhunter Chronicles, because I see the graph of writing when it comes to Cassandra Clare and all her series. Technically speaking, the Last Stars books come after this one, but I can easily say that the writing in this one is much more superior to the Last Stars, because the writing in the Last Stars is mainly focused on laying out the setup and trying to explain to us how this world looks during that particular time period. But this one is nearly to the present, so there is not that much for things to be set up in front of us, because we know how the world exists right now during this time, but it is different during then. The things which I liked about the writing are the ways in which she makes new readers who start with this series. You can start if you want with the Dark Artifices, but I'm definitely sure you'll be spoiled for the other two series before this one. There are some people, right, who don't want to read the Mortal Instruments or the Infernal Devices. They are much more interested in this one alone, and they get into this one. She's made the first book accessible enough for them also, in the way that she explains all the basic things in between the plot, in the way that they are taught by the main characters in this one. It's not like info dumps as we see in City of Moons. In City of Moons it's a bit boring, but in the other series she has found really good ways to put in the basic information here and there, or in order to make the previous readers who've been reading the series for quite a long time remember some of the things by kindling some things that she's trying to tell to them. Also, the references for the different prequel series in this one is really good. Okay, every time I just loved it a lot. There are also some appearances of the main characters in this one. I'll not tell whom because it will spoil the other series for you. So when it comes to writing, it has definitely improved a lot for Cassandra Clare in this one especially. Finally, talking about the pacing in this one was very smooth. I can definitely say this is a huge book. It's not at all a normal size book. It's over 650 pages long, nearly 670 pages long. But the whole time I was reading this book, it did not feel intimidating at all. I'm not saying this because I'm used to this style of writing or I've read the other books in the series. I'm just saying this because it is so simple to read. Okay, though the book is huge, it has a lot of pages put into it. Despite the amount of time it takes to read this book, the experience that I had while I read the entire thing was so smooth and so normal. All the plot twists were really good, but the way in which she has interlinked everything and just provided it in a proper way makes it so digestible to read and not hard or intimidating in any way at all. So the pacing is decent, smooth, as well as very fast. So if you do like fast-paced books which are plot heavy also, you will definitely like this one, because I think this is the first Shadowhunter book in which I've seen both the plot as well as the characters equally strong and drove me to read continuously. Usually I'm a very character-driven reader, but in this one the plot was also very much compelling for me. Okay, that's it for the spoiler-free part, and I definitely did rate this book 5 stars. I don't know how I could have rated this anything less than 5 stars because I enjoyed it the whole time. And now I'm going to jump into the spoilers. While I'm going to talk about spoilers, that will be spoilers for the Mortal Instruments, Infernal Devices, Last Stars, and the Eldritch Curses. I'll not be discussing spoilers for the further 2 books in the series and Ghosts of the Shadow Market alone. So if you have read all the other books, just keep in mind not to give away spoilers for the other 2 books in the series and Ghosts of the Shadow Market alone. So without any further ado, let's get into the spoilers right away. I want to start the discussion by discussing some of the main characters in the book. So let's start with Emma alone first. Being a Carstairs, I think she's the one who's very different from the Carstairs whom we've seen before in this entire story, at least in the way in which I have read the books so far. She's very different from Jem as well as she's very different from Cordelia, because I saw this very clear similarity between Jem as well as Cordelia, which is that they are so sweet characters who are easygoing in every way possible. I cannot see that sweetness within Emma because she's completely different. I like the independence that Emma has compared to all the other characters. Okay, all of them seem to be codependent on each other. That is all the Blackthorns I'm talking about. But Emma, despite being with them, she stands out on her own to a greater extent. I also thought she might be similar to Jace in some way or the other while I read City of Heavenly Fire, but in this one I could definitely see I like Emma compared to Jace a lot more, because in the first read of mine in the Immortal Instruments, I did not like Jace at all, even after knowing his history. But in this one, we don't know anything about Emma, despite the fact that she has lost her parents and the way in which she lost them. But she has this conviction and this compassion for the family in which she is a part of, and all those things make her a lot more likable character if you ask me personally. There are some dumb decisions that she does also, but apart from all the things, I'm able to understand the ways in which she is doing things and she sees the world and how she's trying to make the best of what she has right now in order to provide the most amount of comfort for herself as well as the people who love and have nursed her throughout her life. There's only one thing which I did not like the way in which Emma dealt, which is her knowledge of the Parabatai curse. She could have talked it out with Julian because I think he might have understood it in some way or the other. It might have backfired also, but I do think they could have talked it out, and I don't think there might be any other person in this entire series who understands her well as Julian. So I think that was the only dumb move that she did, and definitely that's going to be the pitch for the next 2 books in the series. So definitely that will be good in some way or the other. I think as a main character, I do think she has a lot of fleshing out done in this first book itself, and I'm very excited to know how she's going to be developed further on in the series. Also, her fear of the sea is something which I did not see coming because she's such a brave character, and water is the thing which actually frightens her. That is something which I definitely did not see coming, and I'm just waiting to see how it's going to be furthermore explored in the series. Next, talking about Julian. I liked Julian also to some extent in this one, but towards the middle of the book and the ways in which he has handled his family and taken care of them made me like him a lot more. But towards the end, the way in which he framed Nightshade for the things that he did not do just because he has to save his family, that was something which I felt so wrong, okay? Because I don't think any of the other Shadowhunters from the previous series would have done that at all. I can understand why he's doing it for his family because he's been protecting them for the past 5 years in every way possible, but that particular incident just threw him a lot more down for me compared to anything else. And also, he's not ready to talk it out with Emma. I'm definitely sure if they are able to feel the things which the other person sees and feels due to this Parabatai bond, I'm sure if Emma is having this emotional turmoil and if she is lying to Julian, I'm sure Julian will be able to understand that she is lying to him. And those are things which I don't clearly understand about the way in which this Parabatai thing works. Okay, that's the stupidest thing if you ask me in this entire series. I don't believe in this concept at all, first of all. So that was something which bummed me a lot. The reason why I liked him a lot more because there have been multiple things which have been snatched away from his life in these past 5 years itself. I think for the Nephilim as a whole, their most active years is from when they are 15 until they are like 25-30 max, because they develop really quick, their body develops really quick. So there are multiple reasons why they do a lot of things compared to human beings in an earlier period of their life. For example, they get married very quick because they don't know when they'll die, so they have to provide the next generation of their family or to maintain the population of the Nephilim as a whole, because there are going to be multiple people who are going to die continuously and they cannot go and look for mundane suicide in order to make them ascend continuously. It is not that easily possible. So he has lost almost like a third of his actual active physical life in these 5 years totally. So there's that thing which just bummed me a lot, and if we can think a lot of things like this, I'm sure the character will also be able to think all of those things. Despite all these complexities that he had these 4 children as his priority and he brought them up. Also, the way in which he has this authority over the institute compared to Arthur himself was really excellent. Okay, I did not see that coming at all. I was able to understand, okay, most of the time Julian would have been the person who has been running this institute for the past 5 years, but if we think back, while he started handling the institute, he was just 12, a child actually. Until 13, a person is a child, right? So he started as a child and he's a young adult now. Still, he's the only one who's been handling everything, and all those things just add on different layers for his character. Talking about our antagonist, Malcolm Fane. Okay, I did not see Malcolm to become as an antagonist while I started with the book, because I know the history of Malcolm and Annabelle, that is Annabelle Blackthorn, while I finished reading the second book in the last house, that is Chain of Iron itself, because it all gets revealed in that one. But I did not see that coming as a huge spoiler for this one towards the end of the book, because when I saw that poem itself, that is with an ending with Annabelle Lee, and when I saw Malcolm's appearance before that a few pages in the book, I was sure, okay, this is the spoiler which people were talking about. But many people said that it was like a mild spoiler, it doesn't affect the reading experience in any way or the other. But I think if you read the last hours before the Dark Artifices, it's definitely a lot more spoilery than people say it is, because a huge plot revelation just happens there itself when you know how Annabelle and Malcolm are related. And I did not think that Malcolm would go to such huge extents in order to do some things which he has done in this one. I can also understand the way in which he behaves, because he's been betrayed by almost every person whom he has thought to be closely acquainted with. For example, Magnus himself, Tessa, Katrina, Ragnar, all these people. And if I'm not wrong, Hypatia is the one who tells him the secret that Annabelle is not in the Adamant Citadel being an ancestor, but she's been killed off by her family. Actually, she's not killed. I think she's buried alive in the tomb, and that's how he's finally getting her back to life. So definitely, Malcolm is a very grey character compared to each and every other things compared to all the other things in the series. I also think he is the only villain who actually has a proper purpose compared to the other villains in the other series. Malcolm's history just provides a lot of more context for the way in which he behaves. I'm not justifying any of the things that he did to be right, but I'm just saying that I can just understand why he's doing all those things despite them being wrong. Though he also knows that they are not they are wrong. He's able to empathize with Emma, but he's not able to understand that the thing that he's doing is wrong because of the grief that he's experienced for almost over a century now. So definitely, as a character, Malcolm is definitely very, very well written. Next, I want to discuss about Kit and his father Johnny Rook. Okay, I guessed instantly by making many connections in my mind that Kit was going to be a Herondale and it's going to be revealed sometime in the future in the series, but I did not see it coming towards the end. But I did guess, okay, I did guess that Kit was going to be a Herondale because I'll tell you how I found this. The appearance of Kit was really different. He has golden hair, if I'm not wrong, golden blonde hair and blue eyes. So these two traits are very contradicting because if it's a golden hair, it can be a Herondale because Jace has golden hair, and blue eyes can either mean he's a Lightfoot or a Herondale again, because Alec has blue eyes, but those blue eyes of Alec are from the Herondales because Will and Cecily in the Infernal Devices had black hair and blue eyes. So he's just a combination of blue eyes as well as golden hair put together. So golden hair might mean that he's a Herondale and blue eyes might mean that he's either a Lightfoot or a Herondale. So since the Lightfoot line is ongoing already, this might be a Herondale, I thought that, and towards the end, bam, it happened. Okay, when Jem and Tessa came and when Tessa addresses him as Christopher Jonathan Herondale, I was like, okay, I'm brilliant. Okay, I think I'm brilliant. It was like that for me. Also, I did not expect Tessa to come in between the story because I was expecting Jem a lot because Emma is related to Jem since he's also a Carstairs and he's the only Carstairs, if I'm not wrong, who's living despite Emma. So they are the only two Carstairs and I was expecting Jem a lot, but I definitely did not see Tessa coming. There's also one thing which I'm expecting to happen. I don't want it to become a Shadowhunter because we've had only one rebel character who did not want to become a Shadowhunter despite having lived in the Institute, and it was Jessamine. Okay, I liked Jessamine's character a lot compared to any of the other characters whom people usually don't like, and I do think that must happen again in this one. It'll be really good. Okay, if he does not want to become a Shadowhunter, if he wants to remain a human but support these people in some way or the other, it will be awesome because that is something which has never happened, if I'm not wrong, in any of the other series, and if it happens here, it will be really good. Another thing which I loved about this series is something which Cassie included later on, okay, very late in the series, but I'm very happy that she did it at last. It was the inclusion of people with different body shapes inside this one itself, because so far I've seen all these books have been incredibly diverse because they include characters from different ethnicities, different complexions, different races, different sexual orientations, all those things. But one thing which was common for all the Shadowhunter characters or also the Roundworlders in this one is that they look physically attractive or physically fit. Okay, I don't think being beautiful is to be within a particular frame because something which looks beautiful for me might not look beautiful for someone else. In the same way, it will be vice versa also. So that was something which was bugging me continuously because you need not look fit or muscular in order to be strong and fit, right? I always believe that because I have friends like that who look like a stick and they can kill me if they want to. They are that fit. I can understand that all these Shadowhunters, they look muscular and well built because of the training that they go through, but I also know that there are some people who have bodies who are very fit but they might look a bit overweight or underweight, yet they can beat anyone who looks fit or looks muscular. So the inclusion of one such character, Drew, in this one was really awesome. Okay, she's a bit overweight compared to the other people and her body looks make a bit more aged compared to the other Shadowhunters of her age, and I liked that inclusion. Okay, the effect that has on her mental health and because of the way in which people see her, it was really well portrayed in this one, and also showing that in a very little girl, that is a girl who's just 13, was also a really good inclusion in this one, if you ask me, because those are the kind of people who are going to read this book. Two other characters whose mental health was focused on a lot was something which I loved a lot. The first one is Tiberius. Okay, Tiberius is a lot anxious compared to all the other characters. Anything can just set him off very easily, and the way in which she has written him and his thought processes, how he sees the world compared to everyone else, and how some of his senses are enhanced and a bit at the edge always, so that even a little stimulation can just push him off the edge. All those things were really well written by Cassie in this one. Finally, I also liked the importance of grief that Cassie had given when it comes to Emma's point of view, because she has lost both her parents in a really horrible way, and she has seen their bodies mangled and burnt and with all these markings and such. So definitely she is insanely depressed. She's going through a lot of grief for the past 5 years. All those effects and the toll that it has had on her is clearly shown in this for us, because it's just really nice to see all those things, because there are many people who experience all those things in the real world itself, and when they read such things which are represented in fantastical books like this one, it is definitely something which they will be able to resonate with and love a lot, and they'll also get that feeling that no one is alone in this world. There is always some other person who's dealing with this exact same things that we are, though we might not have the knowledge of that at all. So that was something which I loved a lot. Moving on to the juicier part of the series, which is the love triangles. Okay, just like in any of the other series, we have love triangles in this one also, but we have 4 love triangles. Okay, and guess what, there is one person who occurs in all the 4 love triangles. I did not see this until I wrote it down actually, and I'll just read all the love triangles for you right now. The first one is Emma, Julian and Mark. The second one is Mark, Kieran and Christina. The next one is Christina, Mark and Diego. And at last we have Mark, Emma and Christina. Guess what? Mark is the person who occurs in each and every one of the 4 love triangles that I have identified so far. Though not all the people are in love or have feelings for the other, these are definitely 4 love triangles which are definitely going to push the plot a lot more further and make the characters do some stupid thing probably in the further books, which will definitely make the series a lot more interesting, funny and a lot more angsty. So I do think many more things are set to arrive here in this one. Also, there is one other ship which I noticed, but I'm not sure if it will happen or not. I think Tiberius and Kit are going to be a thing, because I was able to see some kind of a dynamic, because Kit is shown to be a gay character and Tiberius' sexuality is not all shown anywhere as a glimpse, but I do see those 2 characters coming together in some way or the other, because there are like little chunks of instances which Cassie has included in scenes, just like she had included in The Last Stars and some other books also. So let's just wait and see how it's going to proceed. The darkness of the Fae in this one was also really cool to read. Okay, I really did expect there were going to be a lot more repercussions of the cold piece in this one, but we don't get to see the Fae as a whole in this book. We just see like really a handful of characters most probably, and most of them are just from the Wild Hunt alone and not from the Seelie Court or the Unseelie Court. But all these things, when they were put together, even the small amount of Fae that we got in this one was so dark. Okay, especially the whipping scene in which Emma is whipped because she volunteers instead of Julian and Mark. That scene was so brutal. Okay, it was super dark, and the way in which things are going on in this one, how they have treated Mark for these past 5 years in the Feyland while he was in the Wild Hunt, it was so horrible to read. And the darkness and the cruelty of the Fae and their power of what they can do to anyone who is caught by them was so extremely profoundly shown in this one. Also, I liked the throwbacks that was shown to the TMI characters in this one and how they are doing right now, especially Jason Clary heading the New York Institute. There was one thing which I was not able to believe. They have not caused any havoc at all. Okay, they are doing it pretty well. So I'm happy for them. Next comes Izzy. Izzy is traveling, so that's something which I think is so cool. Okay, it's definitely the style of Izzy, and I'm sure she's going to do something wonderful in some way or the other. Next, Simon is the recruiter. Okay, he's been the bridge always between the Shadowhunters, the Downworld and the Mondays, because he's lived all the 3 lives put together and he has all those memories. I think he's the best Shadowhunter. Okay, for me, Simon is the best Shadowhunter always, and him being the recruiter and trying to explain to those with the sight how and what it means to ascend, what are the things that they'll get and what are the things that they'll lose. All those things were really beautiful, and I definitely did like the growth of Simon. I think this is the part in which Simon is going to get a lot more good things in his life. Talking about Alec, I like the way in which his career is progressing, in the way in which he's trying to make this Downworld Shadowhunter Alliance thing going to work, and the way in which his and Magnus's life have come along together for these past 5 years, and a lot of development has happened in their relationship. It was shown in the Elder Curses books also. I liked them, but in this one we get to see their next son, who's Raphael, the Shadowhunter boy. One thing which just bummed me a lot after knowing the name of the second son was that both these names, okay, Max as well as Raphael, they must have gone to Simon and Izzy's children, because I think of all the siblings put together, Izzy was the one who grieved Max the most, and she was the one who loved him the most, if you ask me. Okay, anyone can argue anything else, but I'll like stand my ground that Izzy was the person who loved Max the most after her parents. Then I'm saying Raphael also belongs to Simon as well, because Raphael was the one who actually sired Simon, okay, when he became a vampire. With or without his knowledge, Raphael was always watching his back, and I do definitely think that those two names must have gone to Simon Izzy's children rather than Malik's children. Now talking about the heart piece of this book, which is the Parvati curse, okay, I did not see Emma and Julian actually sleeping together in the middle of the book, because each and every series has this escalation, and before things are about to happen, they always break. I was expecting the same pattern in this one also, but as he has broken that one in this, and I also was able to see the potential that it had for the rest of the series, because Parvati are not supposed to have romantic feelings for each other, and it is totally forbidden. And the Parvati curse and the way in which Jem explains it to Emma towards the end made a lot of questions arise in my mind. Okay, always there has been some attraction between the Parvati, if you ask me, except Will and Jem and James and Matthew. All the other Parvati whom we have seen closely in the series have been attracted in some way or the other. Okay, first we can talk about Jace and Alec itself. Alec has had this huge crush on Jace for at least 2 to 3 years. It did not affect their Parvati bond in any way, and I do not understand why it is so. It might be because these people's love might have been even more concrete, and they knew it really well within both of them. It might be mutual. That might be a reason why it was so strong for them. And also in Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, we see the flashback in which Michael Wayland is actually in love with Robert Lightwood, though it does not work out. It did not affect them also, so I'm not able to understand, does it needs to be mutual? That is, to both the Parvati love each other in order to make this curse actually work, and all the repercussions of those curse to get into action in the real world. I don't understand that point alone. So yeah, I think this Parvati curse thing, it has a lot of potential to be explored in the rest of the series. I just want to see how this goes further on in the future. Finally, in the climax, Annabelle actually awakens, and I'm not able to understand that one also. Blackthorn blood needs to be spilt. Is it just that they have to bleed and the presence of their blood in that place needs to be there in order to awaken her, or a Blackthorn life must be sacrificed actually, because any of the Blackthorns did not die, but they all fought within that cave, right? So they will have been injured, and at least a drop of someone of the 6 Blackthorns might have spilt in that place. So I think technically speaking that might have worked out, and it might have awakened Annabelle. And I'm also interested in knowing how Annabelle is going to react after she comes into life, because her family was the one which actually buried her alive, and these are the 7 people who are also her family after generations. Will she be cold to them, or will she be okay with them? Is she going to try and bring Malcolm back because she did the same for her? All those things are things which are huge question marks in my mind, because I want to know what is going to happen further on. I think this is a series in which the plot intrigues me a lot more compared to the things that are going on between the characters. I don't even want to see a lot more going on with all these 4 love triangles I talked about. I think it's going to work out in some way or the other. I'm not sure if the Parvati curse will be broken or not, because Clary has this power to create runes, right? Because she has created the birth control rune also. I think the Shadowhunters are very horny people, because in the short time that the birth control rune has been in existence, it has been the most used rune compared to the healing rune also. So that definitely tells something. And also that power of Clary, I think, will come in hand some way or other in the later portion of the series, because she has the power to create runes, right? So she can also destroy runes, or she can create a rune in order to break the Parvati curse or Parvati bond. There might be something like that. I'm not sure how it will work, but I do think it might be an option, because this is a soft magic system, right? So it might happen, it might not happen, I'm not sure though, but it can. I'm just saying that it has the probability, it has a high probability to happen. I'm just waiting to see how it all unfolds. And yeah, there are 2 main questions also which I have in mind, there are also 2 main questions which I have in mind. The first one being, how did Jesse Blackthorn survive? Because he was a ghost in Chain of Iron also, and how does he survive in order to give a line of Blackthorns after that? And the second question is the most important question, which I want the answer for by the end of this series, which is, how did Church effing survive? Okay, it's just a cat. Okay, Church is just a cat, and he has lived since 1874 to 2012. Okay, I don't even think any of the Nephilim lived for so long except Jem. So yeah, these are all the questions which I have that I hope to get answered in the end of this series. And I should say this was a very solid first book, and I definitely did enjoy it a lot. I'm expecting a lot from this series as a whole. And yeah, that's it for today. If you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel, because I publish new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.